All right, we got a 2017 Nissan Rogue. This is all-wheel drive, 2.5 liter. We're going to be replacing the tie rods on here. We're going to be doing the inner and the outer tie rods. I'm going to show you what parts I've got. Okay, so the inner tie rods here, both of these part numbers are going to be the same, both sides. Now the outer are different. They are side specific. And let's go ahead and take them out. All right, so here's a look at them. Here's your inner tie rod. And say I like TRQ. I'll leave links to these. They just make really good parts, and I've never had any trouble with them. All right, let's go over the tools we're going to be using. Okay, this is pretty much everything you should need. Jack stand. We've got just a ratchet with a 21 millimeter for the lugs. I've got a 15 and a 14. Let's see, I just got a tape measure, some needle nose, torque wrench, a long 2-foot extension. So we got a 3/4 and a 7/8 here. And then over here we've got us a shot filled mallet. We've got this little tool here that we're going to be using to remove the inner tie rod. Now they do have a special tool that you can use to do that, but and you can also get that as a loaner tool from most part stores. But this right here is cheap, and I have it on hand, so I'm going to use that. We got some high strength Loctite, and then I've just got a 14 there to tighten the tool up with. And we've just got some tape to do some marking of the old position of the tie rod, outer tie rod, and then a hammer. So let's take a closer look at this tool right here. So this tool is mainly designed for the smooth inner tie rods that do not have the flats that you can get any type of a wrench inner tie rod tool on, but it works just as good for any of the rest of them. And I just bought this because I needed it, and I pretty much use this all the time. So how it works is it just slips on there. I'll show you. We tighten these nuts right here, these 14s down, and then we get our 3/8 extension in here, and then we'll tighten it up and torque it down. So very first thing, we're going to chalk these rear wheels, and I did chalk the other side as well. Let's go ahead and get our lugs broken loose, and we'll get the car lifted. Okay, just to show you where I lifted from there, and we just placed the jack stand. Go ahead and finish removing the tire here. Alright, very first thing we're going to get on this is a 14. Now, it really helps if you have an impact, but it's not necessary. Wow, it just fell out of there. It's not supposed to do that. So more than likely you're going to have to hit this thing and knock it down out of there. Alright, what we want to do is we want to go up here and pop this band loose. So I've already popped this loose. Essentially all you do is go up here with a flat screwdriver, and you just take a hammer and just hit that thing right there around. You hit it right there where that's crimped, and it'll pop right loose. Alright, so now we're going to pull on this. We're going to kind of twist this thing forward a little bit. And it doesn't like to move too easily here. It's corroded up. Well, that white lithium's got it moving a little bit here. You can see it. If you don't spray it down, it's going to invert this thing, and you're going to have to pop it back loose. Alright, so now we can get up here to this piece. Alright, so we're just going to slip this right under here. This is the part that has the teeth. And it's not real fun to reach your hands up in here, but it's doable. That is my only downside to this tool versus the other tool. Alright, so if you can't see what I'm doing, I'm just reaching over here and starting this 14 millimeter. And I'm getting the other one. Alright, so I'm going to run those on down a little bit. So I guess a plus to this is that I don't need to disassemble this old tie rod out here, as of yet anyways. So I'm just going to snug this up with this little 1/4 inch ratchet here. It doesn't have to be crazy tight, but you want it to be snug. And I think that's enough for us to get it done. So just get it as snug as you can get it. You know, it's likely to be pretty tight here initially. And we're going to get out here with our extension, see if we can get this thing loose. Okay, so just to give you a visual of what's going on here, I got the 3/8 extension, extended handle ratchet out here, and we slipped it into that tool there. So you can see that just slips right into that. Alright, let's go ahead and break it loose. Alright, now you see that whole thing turned, and that's pretty much, once it's loose, it's loose. So we're going to go ahead and, let's just see. Yeah, I'm going to need to take my tool off. So we'll just take this completely loose and then just slip it back. Now that has those teeth, so you're going to have to take and knock it loose. Alright, so let's just start spinning this out of here. And you can see that once we have it loose, it'll spin right off. Alright, so that's what that looks like. Now the only thing that I even need this for is this boot here. You know, if you got replacement boots, then you can just throw this whole thing. But I kind of like to use the old jam nut as well because it's a little bit thicker. So what I'm going to do before we take this loose, we're going to make us a mark here on these threads. I'll just probably put some tape around it so we can mark the location, and we'll just measure. And you know, you could also measure the overall length, and you could get a comparison, measure from the flat of this end here or here all the way to the center line down here, so you can get an idea of what the length is. Let me see, it's looking like about 16 1/4 or so there, the best I can tell. Yeah, from here to here, this center line is 16 1/4, and it's the same on the other side too. Now the other thing, I mean, look at these things. Like, see how that's busted? It's just flopping all over the place. And the same goes here. You know, when you start getting slack, and this is not as bad as I've seen some, but you start getting a lot of slack in your steerings because this is getting wore out, and it just allows it to move a little bit too much. But you know, if you're doing your outer tie rods, it's just another step to go ahead and replace this. To me, it just makes sense. That way you know that both of them are going to be nice and new. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and mark this, and we'll take this apart. Alright, this is my setup here. I've just got the 7/8 on this big jam nut, and essentially holding it. I've got the 3/4 over here on these flats right here. There's those flats, but you can't see that, so I'm just kind of putting that right there. Now this is going to be pretty tight, so I have to stand on this, and I'm going to hit this with the rubber mallet, and it's going to take some doing to get this loose. Alright, so we got it broke loose, I think. So yeah, once you get it loose initially, see, it'll come off there real easy, or at least it should. I've seen them where they're all seized up before. I think I've even had to cut these things. Alright, so like I said, we're going to get this jam nut loose. And if your jam nut seizes up, you're going to hold this with a, I got a 14 here, because it's not wanting to come off of here. Alright, I had to switch to vice grips. Alright, so there we've got that, and it's quite a bit bigger than the placement. We'll get that off there. Now we gotta see if we can slip this back off again. Alright, that white lithium helps to sweep that off. So we've got our parts. We'll set these aside. Okay, another thing we can do is measure the old part, so we know this one is 9 inches here to this very end, and our new one, it's about 8 7/8, maybe slightly less. So we know that we need to thread this part on about 1/8 of an inch less than this right here. So we take a measurement from this to where our tape is. It's about 1 3/8, a little bit more. So if we go 1/8 of an inch less than that, then we should be somewhere around 1 5/16 inches, it's looking like. So that's probably what we'll do. So we'll just make a note of that when we put this on here. We'll just thread it on that far. So I just put my tape back 1 5/16 inches there, and it's just going to take a little guesswork out of it. Now it's not going to get it accurate, but I've got some other things I'm going to do, and this will help get it close enough till we get it to the alignment shop. I'm going to go ahead and put some high strength Loctite on the end of this. So let's go ahead and get it in the car. Try to run these down evenly Alright, I've got that snug down pretty tight. Alright, so I'm going to get my torque wrench on here. We've got it set to 65 foot-pounds, and just like we did when taking it loose, we're going to get on here with our extension. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and get the tool back off here. And if it gets into a situation where I can't get to these, I'll get another wrench on here or something, but I usually don't have any trouble. So let's go ahead and get this loose. I forgot to put the zip ties on the list. We're going to slip a zip tie around this boot. Now do not tighten it tight, just get it slipped on there into the groove here where it's going to kind of be in position. So we're going to leave it about like that. We'll go ahead and slip this on. And you want to make absolutely sure that it's on there like it's supposed to be before you cinch your zip tie up. Alright, I'll give you a view at it from this angle. You can see we got it slipped all the way on there. And you're only going to be able to get this so tight by hand. Of course you want to clip it, but it's not going to fall off. Once it's in that groove on there where it's supposed to be, it'll stay there. I had to get a different clip for whatever reason. The other one wasn't wanting to go on. Alright, so we're just gonna thread this nut down till it butts against the tape. And it ought to be pretty close. So I'm just going to run this down till it hits the nut here. Okay, this is a locking nut. It's trying to spin on me. Alright, so when it does that, you just got to get the appropriate sized Allen to hold it, and it's going to vary based on what brand tie rod you go with. We'll go ahead and torque this. Alright, usually once you get it snugged up it won't move, so we're going to torque this to 35 foot-pounds. Alright, so there we have all this. What we're going to need to do now is get the wheel on. I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. This, we're going to purposely leaving this loose until we can get it a little bit more into alignment. Now we're going to also leave it slightly lifted with the tire just slightly off the ground. Okay, so I want to show you what we're doing, and this is just to get it lined up good enough to get it to the shop for an alignment. But I moved my jacks up here so they're out of the way. Got jack stands back there where they were, and I've run a string from the front all the way to the back there. Let me show you where I got it attached. So I just fastened it back here at like where the little brake line is, where it's kind of in the center of the wheel. So then I'm just pulling the string like up to the center here is all, and we're kind of eyeballing it all the way up to the front. Now I would have been better off just taking an overall measurement and putting it together and then fastening it in there, because it was way off. So I'm just eyeballing. This side is pretty good. It's not real bad. We'll go to the other side here. So I'm just looking down the back there, and as soon as it starts touching back up here, and I'm watching the front, you can see we still got a little bit of a gap up here, probably about 3/8 of an inch. So we're going to go in here and adjust it a little bit more. Okay, so when you're turning this under here like this, you want to go up here and take a little clip, or it's going to twist your boot all up. And what we're going to do is get hold of this right here. And apparently I don't have a wrench that fits this properly, so I'm using a crescent. So all we're going to do, we want to turn this so this wheel goes out a little at the back. So we need to actually back this off. So I'm just going to turn it a little more. We don't have a lot to go. This does not want to fit on here right, but it's working. I've got my camera kind of in the way here. Okay, so we're just doing this right here. You're gonna get the idea. We're just gonna back it off. Like I said, once it gets to the shop, they'll get it all lined up right. So let's go check it out. And I guess I should have mentioned, you want to make sure your steering wheel in there is absolutely as straight as you can get it. So that's looking pretty good. When they do an alignment, they actually toe these front ends just slightly. Alright, so we're going to put our clip back on up here. And you know, I'd point out that I'm also making assumptions about my rear wheels. I don't know how straight they are, because I really don't know much about it. Haven't had it aligned. So alright, so we're just going to jam this together. Like I said, I don't want to get crazy with it. They're just going to be taking it back loose again, but we want to jam this together, make sure it ain't going to move for the drive up there. And I'll need to do the same on the other side. Alright, so we got the vehicle lowered back down now. We're going to go ahead and torque these lugs to 85 foot-pounds. Alright, so that's going to do it. I'm going to leave links to those tie rods. And I think it was around $70 for both pairs, so inner and outer. So not too bad. I mean, you've seen the condition of these. These are definitely just destroyed and need to be replaced. So anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and thanks for watching.